Alright, Mom. This is my Sorcerer beginner's guide for you. We're gonna try to, make this as uncomplicated as possible. You really need to fix your TV thing so you can see these bindings down here, because that's going to make it easier for you. Granted, I'm on mouse and keyboard, but I remember where most of the bindings are, and it's probably more important for you anyway that you just recognize sort of the visuals of these different abilities. I think that'll help you quite a bit. But before we even start going into sort of how how to help you play this character more effectively, let's go ahead and actually open up our abilities tree. So this is where you put your points in. You're going to open that menu up. You'll notice when you look at the expand option on controller, it will show the right stick. If you click in your right stick, you can actually open this up and have full screen so you can see what's going on, okay? The thing you're going to want to do now, as you're watching this video, put it on your iPad, have the game up, is you're going to want to refund all. The shortcut for you to do that is to just tap the X button, and it'll give you a confirmation window. Say, are you sure you want to refund all abilities? And you'll say yes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that just to do this alongside you. This is the build that I recommend, okay? You have a lot more points than I do. This character's only like level 16. We're like, whatever, 24 or something like that now. So take that into consideration. You'll probably have some leftover points. I'll try and tell you where to put them for now. But the general concept of this build is a primarily ice-focused build. We are going to use some fire along the way, but ice is going to be our friend here. So first of all, our primary attack, this is the thing we're using, the majority of the time, we're going to go with Frostbolt. So we're going to go ahead and put 3 points into Frostbolt right off the rip here. We're going to take Enhanced Frostbolt, and then as this tree branches in 2 directions, we're going to go with Flickering Frostbolt. This makes frozen enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. All you need to know is that when an enemy is made vulnerable, it usually flashes on the screen. Everybody can see that an enemy is vulnerable. It just means they take more damage. This is a good thing to have, all right? So we're going to spec into that. Now, coming down to the second tree, our sort of our combo ability here, the thing we're going to use when we want to burn mana to do a ton of damage, is going to be Frozen Orb. So I'm going to go ahead and put 3 points into Frozen Orb right off the rip here. We're going to take Enhanced Frozen Orb, and then we're going to go up on the tree to Greater Frozen Orb. Again, this is a chance to make enemies vulnerable. And more importantly, if you look at the second part of this, Frozen Orb always makes frozen enemies vulnerable. This is going to be key to sort of the combo we're going to do here with this character as we move on to the next part of our third tree here. But before we do that, there's a little node down here you'll see in the second tree that is very important. It's called Devastation. You're going to want to take this. Your maximum mana is increased by 3. I would actually recommend taking this twice. I think it's worth it. And then later on, you can come back here and take Elemental Dominance. But for now, this just to kind of get us through the general concept of the build here. Now down here, we're going to go ahead and take Frost Nova. So this is going to be our huge, we're surrounded by enemies and we need to just stop them from attacking us. We need to set them up for big damage. This is the thing we're going to be popping. So we're going to take a point in Frost Nova, a point in Enhanced. We're not going to spec into the trees just yet. Although I think for you have enough points. I think that would actually be fine. What I would do is go with Shimmering Frost Nova so we can start to get some mana generation back here. We already have a tool that is making enemies vulnerable. I don't necessarily think it's too important right now. Shimmering Frost Nova is the way to go with this one. You can put 2 points in Frost Nova. You should definitely have the credits for that, so that's fine. You're going to see as well here, like it says I have 1 out of 5 in Ice Armor. Just ignore that. If a rank, you see how it says rank here, right? Ice Armor, rank 1 out of 5, item contribution, all right? That's the thing that shows up as we read here. If the rank number is blue, rather than you see how in this one it just says rank 2 out of 5 and it's in white, the blue is just indicating that you are getting this bonus from an item, hence the term item contribution, okay? That's all that means. So sometimes you'll look at your skill tree and you'll be like, I didn't put a point there. If it's in blue, no, you're right, you didn't. You're getting that from some piece of gear that is granting you that rank, okay? Just something to know. So let's go down to our fourth tree here, and we're going to jump out of Ice for the very first time and pick Hydra. We're just going to put 1 point in Hydra. You should be able to spend some more points in it, but again, just for the general focus of this build, considering I don't have all the points you have, we're going to move right on down here to our next tree, and you've got a couple options here. You could go with Blizzard and just sort of continue you know, the ice theme, this is a pretty good ability. It's just going to kind of like cast this huge area that's going to deal damage and chill enemies. So if you want to keep going with that sort of chill effect, this is something you can absolutely do. It's just another great tool to kind of just deal with a large group of enemies and start to apply damage to them, even larger than your Ice Nova here, sorry, your Frost Nova. The only other one I would really recommend here in this tree is going to be Firewall if you wanted to continue mixing fire and ice. This just creates a big wall and it burns things. It's not bad. It doesn't really have like the huge AoE coverage that Blizzard has. But it's cool. So again, if thematically, if you want to mix it up more, you can. You feel free to do that. I'm going to go ahead and for the sake of demonstrating this for you, I'm going to go ahead and choose Blizzard. Now you have enough points and you're far enough along on your character that you have an ultimate ability. So you will be in this this sort of second last tree here. I would go ahead and just continue the ice thing, go with Deep Freeze. So Deep Freeze is going to allow you to essentially create like this crazy ice armor for yourself. You're going to have immunity. When anything touches you, it's going to take damage and they're going to be chilled. And on top of that, when it expires, when the ability is no longer protecting you, it detonates and does damage. Like, you can't get much better than that. This is a really good ability, I think, for you in terms of survival tools. It is your ultimate. It's like, this is your big ability. It has a 60-second cooldown. But every time we're in a big nasty fight and you feel like you're about to die, you're low on healing, this is something that could potentially save you. So I would go ahead and go that route. Now, while we're in this menu, and actually I'll close it out so you can see how you would access this from the normal screen. We're going to open up our character screen again, and you'll see that you have an option here called Skill Assignment. All right, if we open this menu, we get this. Now, this is an important thing to know about because at level 15, you already have your first enchantment slot. This is the thing that we went and did that whole fancy quest for you for. Enchantment slot allows you to take one of your skills that you've unlocked. All right, we're going to do Frost Nova in this case, and also get an additional enchantment effect from that skill. So you're still going to be able to use the skill down here on your slot. This should be your Y button for you, by the way, where my Q is. But you're also going to get an enchantment skill. So for you, when you click A on this ability, it's then going to give you like a cursor, you know, a controller cursor, and you're going to drag this down to enchantments. I'm just going to drag and drop, and you'll see now that we have this new bonus here. On Lucky Hit, our conjuration skills have up to a 30% chance to unleash a Frost Nova when hitting enemies. Now, one thing for you to try and wrap your head around in this game is that there are lots of tags, okay, like terminology words that the game will highlight or underline. In this case, you can see conjuration is highlighted in white because conjuration is a trait that can be applied to other abilities. So you're probably asking yourself, okay, my conjuration skills have up to a 30% chance to unleash a Frost Nova when hitting enemies. What are my conjuration skills? Well, in this case, you have one conjuration skill right now. That's your Hydra ability. This is the little dragon that we picked. You can see it has a green conjuration tag. So every time, we'll pop out of this menu now, we go ahead and throw down our Hydra. There's a chance for it to spawn a Frost Nova on the enemies. I don't believe it'll do it if we're just casting down the open like this, but if it hits, if we spawn this into a group of enemies, that's when the chance will activate. Okay, so that's going to be a part of our sort of skill here. So let's move on and start to talk about how we're actually going to play this character. So first and foremost, your A button ability for you is going to be your Frostbolt. This is what we're going to use, you know, while we're waiting for our mana to regenerate, so we can continue to use our stronger abilities. So one thing that I would work on while you're playing the game is just rotating between Frostbolt, your main ability here, and Frozen Orb, your secondary ability. So let's go fight some stuff, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Now, take this into consideration. You're playing a class that regenerates mana over time. You don't build mana by like doing attacks necessarily. So you already have a pool of it when you enter combat. So you want to open with some of your biggest, nastiest stuff. So we're going to do a couple things as we go into combat here. And we're going to try to do this all the time. First and foremost, we're going to want to drop our Hydra down, all right? It only costs 20 mana, and this thing is just going to start attacking shit for us. It's awesome. And it's, like, really affordable. I mean, you see how fast your mana regenerates, like, not a problem, right? So if you're ever confused and you're like, did I deploy this? Maybe you can't see it. It's kind of hidden in the, you know, massive enemies we're fighting. Just press it again. you want to kind of be looking in the direction you want to cast it, but just cast it again, get it out. Eventually this thing will drop. It has a certain amount of time before it goes down, so you'll want to spawn it again anyway, but it's a good opener. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to open up with this, get this thing down. You can see it's already going to start attacking stuff. Now what we want to be doing here, again, as I said, as a part of our opener, is not just attacking with Frostbolt. Like, we don't want to just do this. We have all this mana. There's no reason to open a fight with that. We want to open a fight with our Frozen Orb. We want to spend some mana. So I'm going to come into this fight, I'm going to Dragon, and then I'm going to start throwing out Frozen Orbs until I can't throw out Frozen Orbs anymore. Alright, and then once I need to wait for my mana to regenerate, my character's like, I can't do that. And you see this warning pop up on screen, I'm going to start attacking with Frostbolt again, okay? And there's sort of a kind of general cadence you'll develop over time, depending on like where your character's mana regeneration is. The general rule of thumb for me when I go into a fight is that I will, pop my dragon, I'll throw 2 of these. That's usually enough to be out. Sometimes you can get away with 3, but I'll usually throw 2, kind of throwing them in different, into the groups that I'm trying to fight, and then I'll start attacking with Frostbolt. Now you don't need to wait that long. So really I would only throw like 1 or 2, maybe 2 or 3 Frostbolts out before I start throwing Frozen Orbs again, because Frozen Orbs just hit like a truck. Now if you're in a situation where you need to be moving a lot because you're just trying to avoid getting hit, which is something you should be doing at all times with this class, we'll go ahead and get in some more combat. I can demonstrate that for you. So Dragon, Orb, and you're going to see I'm going to start running away from the enemy, kiting, turning and attacking, turning and attacking. You really won't need to worry too much about using Frostbolt because you're going to regenerate mana over time anyway, and it's just not necessary. It's going to happen just while you're kiting. So, if you've been walking for a long period of time or just dodging, you can just go right back in with a Frozen Orb. You don't even have to stress about it. Just boom, boom, boom. And you'll be good to go. Now, the other thing we want to be considering here, of course, is our Frost Nova. So we're going to go find another group of enemies, because this is our big sort of group ability, right? We're going to want to get into a pretty nasty fight, and this is where we would pop Frost Nova. And these guys really don't count. You can just nuke these bats pretty easily with that. There we go. Got some dudes here. We'll just go ahead, get in the middle, throw down Frost Nova, and you can see it freezes them all. And then we just want to start wailing on them right away with our Frozen Orb. It's going to do a huge amount of damage, and it's really important for us to hit enemies while they're frozen in that Frost Nova AoE, because that helps us regenerate more mana as well, as a part of just the general trait of Frost Nova. It's really useful. So that's kind of the combo you want to go with. Now, again, we also have our Blizzard ability here. This is just another thing you can sort of throw out on top of, large groups of enemies once again. So, we'll do it with these bats. And you can see it just kind of starts to rain down. Really strong. And 40 mana doesn't maybe seem like a lot, but it's a good amount, all things considered. Especially if we were to keep spamming it. So we do kind of want to be cautious with it, but a pretty decent combo is to go ahead and pop off your Frost Nova, which has a cooldown, so you can't use it again right away, and then go ahead and immediately dump Blizzard on top of that. So let's aggro a bunch of enemies. We'll pop Frost Nova in the middle, and then immediately hit, and you can see it just kind of goes to work. Now, if we're dealing with more difficult enemies, you'll definitely have to start going in, throwing out your Frozen Orbs, but Blizzard and Frost Nova are good friends. Using those two together, extremely, extremely powerful combo. And that's kind of just the general, the character. Like, you just kind of got to get comfortable with, combining certain attacks. Again, upkeep, like stuff like your dragon's good. And just, managing that mana and keeping these powerful attacks out. I would say the thing that you're probably going to struggle the most with as you continue to play this character is just, the general movement. Not just standing there and getting face smashed. Don't be afraid to throw out one attack and turn, walk a little bit so you can get some spacing. Use your B button to dodge to close the distance. You could even go ahead and drop a dragon in the direction you're running and then keep running past it, and that'll probably aggro the enemy. and use that as an effect. The other thing you just want to be trying to do constantly, because there's nothing wrong with sort of running away kiting enemies, as they say, right? Imagine you're dragging a kite behind you. That's kind of what you want to be doing. You want to be pulling the enemies in the direction you want them to go, is consider where you're actually pulling them. Don't just pull them off into the distance. Ideally, try and get an idea where friendlies are, where Willie and I are, and pull those groups into us. You can run past us then and use us as like sort of your own personal shield wall and, you know, start attacking. Like Willie and I are right here where these dead bodies are, and you can attack right past us while we're dealing with those bad guys. But again, you can also always use your Hydra as your own little personal shield. Just boop as you're running past it, and then turn around and start casting through it. It's a lot to take in, I know, but the more you practice it, the better you get. And honestly, just using your Frostbolt and your Frozen Orb, in, you know, tandem constantly, getting those out and maximizing the usage of those two, so you're almost always throwing Frozen Orbs on top of rotating other stuff, that's going to increase your damage massively on its own. So, you know, really just practice with that. And then again, you know, survival tool. Hey, oh, they're all frozen. Turn around. Boom, boom. Go ahead and drop that on them too while I'm here. You know, you don't have to be too obsessive with the order you do things. It's just like try to remember that you have these tools and that you should be using them, and you'll get better at using them in, you know, the necessary order to maximize their effectiveness. But I think that's it. I'll probably have to make some future guides for you when we get into other complex elements of the game, like gear and aspects and all that. But for now, this should hopefully help you get a little bit better at just playing the character. I hope it helps you out. Goodbye!